To Russia launching a massive aerial assault against Ukraine, the biggest since the invasion more than 3 years ago.
Rescue workers say one person died and 26 were injured.
Ukraine and Russia are exchanging fire on multiple fronts. Bridges are being destroyed, cities are burning, and oil depots are under attack.
A 45-meter fireball lit up the wheat fields of Zaporia as 18,000 liters of Russian diesel exploded, incinerating tanks and fuel trucks in seconds. That blast wasn't an accident. It was the endgame of a plan designed to destroy Russia's prized armored convoy. But here's the shocking part. The strike wasn't carried out by tanks or jets. It was by drones, mortars, and 200 motorbikes. Within 14 minutes, the convoy collapsed. Before you hear how it happened, ask yourself, how does a $1 million tank lose to a dirt bike? Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Imagine 4.6 kilometers of armor grinding forward across the flat terrain, row after row of tanks, infantry carriers, and supply trucks. How do you stop that with almost nothing in reserve? The column rolled like a steel serpent across the earth, carrying the strength to break open defenses and pour men and machines through the gap. At its core were 50 of Russia's most advanced T-90M tanks. Following them, 70 BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles, engines drumming in unison. Behind those, fuel convoys and ammunition trucks stretched the line farther, each one the lifeline that would keep the formation moving once combat began. Their mission was not subtle. Crack the Ukrainian front, expand the gap, and force 1.2 million civilians into the shadow of Russian heavy artillery. If they succeeded, every town behind the defensive line would fall under relentless shelling, with little chance of safe retreat. The imbalance was painful to see. Russia advanced equipment worth hundreds of millions, while Ukrainian units in that sector had fewer tanks, limited artillery, and improvised vehicles that could not endure a head-on clash. Steel and mass were on one side. Scarcity and ingenuity stood on the other. Traditional battlebook tactics gave Ukraine no route to victory. To fight tank against tank was to hand over lives and territory with nothing gained. Every officer studying the situation knew it. Charging straight into armor columns was a death sentence. From Dnipro, Ukrainian commanders watched satellite feeds and intercepted signals to trace the Serpent's advance. Computer screens glowed in the command center as staff mapped the exact position of each armored shape moving slowly along the road. They could guess the column's fuel points and likely rest stops, but raw awareness did not stop advancing steel. The dilemma hardened. Intercept conventionally and lose, or wait for the convoy to break through. Both choices ended in disaster. General Havellano introduced an alternative. His concept was to treat the column not as an unstoppable wall, but as a vulnerable chain. Every chain has weak links, and pressure applied in the right order could turn strength into liability. His plan rested on 3 phases, each one designed to exploit Russian expectations. Instead of pitting tank against tank, the fight would pit sensors, drones, and mobility against brute force. Information was to become the sharpest weapon in the field. Phase 1 meant absolute silence. Small reconnaissance drones drifted high above the clouds, watching the armored mass without striking. As each vehicle crawled forward, algorithms tagged it with a digital marker. Tanks, infantry carriers, ammunition trucks, each one fed into a live grid. Operators tracked in real time, reshaping the battlefield map minute by minute. At first, the column showed no signs of awareness. Engines droned on. Dust rolled behind their tracks. The crews did not realize their entire line had been mapped to the last axle. Precision mattered. The drones highlighted the lead BMP-3 and one of the ammunition carriers, both vital for pace and supply. By knowing which vehicle to cripple, Ukrainians could command the flow without matching power. When the signal came, a single drone descended through the clouds. It was not the largest craft, nor the most complex, but its target was critical. Its strike shattered the lead vehicle, metal scattering across the convoy route. Engines braked, horns blared, soldiers leapt from transport doors. Even before the smoke cleared, the Serpent coiled in confusion. The armored line had no room to maneuver. Traffic jammed behind the crippled lead. This was only the opening note. Ukraine was not yet attacking with its true weapons. The first strike had one purpose: show how easy it was to seize initiative. Information had shifted the balance. Maps, satellite feeds, positioning data. They outweighed tank armor in that moment. But silent observation and precision disruption were still only part of the plan. The second phase introduced something even fewer commanders could imagine. Weapons that floated in like shadows, carrying mines through the air. They were about to face flying explosives, unleashed with the intent to bleed the convoy before the real assault even began. What happens when defending against drones makes you the target? That question defined the second phase of the plan, and it began when 40 quadcopters appeared over the horizon. Each carried a TM-62 anti-tank mine slung beneath its frame, heavy enough to destroy an armored vehicle if dropped in the right place. They did not come in silently or attempt to hide. They flew openly, forcing Russian gunners to react. Tank commanders shouted for crews to fire. Anti-air machine guns laced the sky with tracers. Every round aimed at bringing down the strange cargo risked something more dangerous. When the bullets struck, the mines ripped apart, detonating above the very men firing. Shrapnel slashed across open truck beds filled with infantry. Cabs that had no armor now burned. Exposed crews fell, not from Ukrainian fire directly, but from their own attempted defense. The shock of it slowed the convoy further. Smoke rose over the trucks. Tank units struggled to reposition, trying to clear fields of fire, but miles of vehicles boxed them in. Yet even as damage spread, Ukraine faced a crisis. Russia's gunners locked onto the primary command drone orbiting high overhead. A burst of heavy fire finally cut into its fuselage. The feed blinked to static. In seconds, the Ukrainian crews lost their main set of eyes. The convoy still stretched for kilometers, but the operators were blind. Every remaining quadcopter risked flying without guidance. At that moment, the entire ambush almost folded. On the ground, one soldier refused to stop. Sergeant Mikola had brought a personal reconnaissance drone, a civilian model modified for long range. It wasn't armored or advanced, but when he launched, the small craft became the only set of eyes left in the sky. Its shaky camera provided just enough resolution for coordinates. Mortar crews linked to his feed, entered the data, and prepared a precision strike. Ukrainian tubes fired. Shells screamed down on the jammed convoy. With an error circle as small as 5 meters, rounds landed inside the formation. Explosions tore through vehicles unable to move off-road, packed far too close to escape. Within minutes, engines burned and ammunition trucks cracked open under repeated fire. As dawn broke, the battlefield changed character. The first light revealed movement in the fields. What emerged was not armor or heavy machines, but the roar of dirt bike engines. 200 riders surged from concealed positions, splitting into 3 wings like a trident stabbing forward. Their speed outmatched turret rotation. Where Russian gunners tried to traverse, bikes sped past. Each rider carried an RPG or a shoulder-fired missile, rising like insects around monsters, firing and peeling away before a barrel could lock on. The front wing hit tanks at the center. The second swarmed BMPs along the flanks. The third drove straight toward the rear, hunting supply trucks. Engines screamed, rockets flashed, and Russian armor could not pin them down. Armor can burn, but the real lesson is how speed, improvisation, and intelligence turn cheaper tools into decisive weapons. Tanks worth millions fell to drones costing thousands, and motorcycles made of steel tubing and rubber tires struck where heavy machines could not respond. The story isn't about fireballs alone. It's about how unpredictability reshapes the field when tradition fails. So what do you think? Was this a tactical miracle or the birth of a new war model entirely? If dirt bikes can crush modern armor, what do the next front lines look like? And who will be ready for them?